On today's episode, good news from Tough Mudder and Spartan Race, and an interview with Kristopher Mendoza. This is the world's toughest podcast. Welcome to the world's toughest podcast, where we talk about any obstacle course race you'd like, as long as that's world's toughest mudder. Each week we talk to members of the WTM community and share stories of success and failure in the single greatest event in OCR. My name is Will Hicks, and this is the world's toughest podcast. Welcome back to World's Toughest Podcast. My name is Will Hicks. Thank you for listening. You are listening to the number one rated obstacle course racing podcast in the world because of listeners like you. Thank you. You are too kind. Before we get started, before we talk with Kristopher Mendoza, I just play that sound a lot, that song a lot, because you like it a lot. When people say, oh yeah, listen to the show, you know, my favorite part is when you sing the song. I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't sing any song. And they're like, you know, Kristopher Mendoza. Kristopher Mendoza. I'm like, that's not me singing. That's Keith Allen. And it's great, but you don't want to hear me sing. Anyway, before we talk with him, I want to give you an update on Tough Mudder, the world's toughest mudder, and Spartan Race. The last we heard or last we talked, a lot of stuff happens, right? Let me just kind of tell you where we're at. There was a deal that was done for Tough Mudder to be sold to Spartan Race. And Kyle McLaughlin, the CEO of Tough Mudder, agreed to it. And then Joe DeSena agreed to it. Active, a large finance partner of Tough Mudder, agreed to it. Everyone was on board, except for the co-founders of the company. And the co-founder said, hey, that's great. I'm so glad you guys got a deal done. Good job. The only thing is we need $40 million for the two of us, $20 million each. And that's just not going to happen, right? So the co-founders were willing to basically let the company, I think what it was they were bluffing, right? It was a standoff between Active and Spartan and the co-founders. And the co-founders like, hey, if you really want this great company, it's going to cost you $40 million. And the other side, they're like, yeah, we're not going to pay $40 million. We already have a deal done. You can't be doing this. So they're going back and forth. Is the company going to die? Okay, that's where it was. And then about a week ago, three vendors that are owed money by Tough Mudder, owed almost $900,000. They file paperwork to force Tough Mudder into Chapter 11 bankruptcy. And if that happens, if the judge says, yes, you guys are going into bankruptcy because you owe all this money, then a trustee is appointed. And the trustee is told by the judge, hey, figure out what's best for the people that are owed money by this. And basically the trustee, who's probably a lawyer, in the state of Delaware or Hampshire, wherever it is, will, make that decision. Like what's best for Tough Mudder? What's best for the vendors that are owed money by Tough Mudder? And right now there is one offer on the table, that same offer, I'd imagine, from Spartan Race. Like, hey, we're happy to buy the company. Here's the deal. Here's whatever the terms are. Spartan would buy them. So the concern was that Will Dean would fight that bankruptcy order, and maybe he pays the $900,000, and the fight continues. But it just came out today on Wednesday that Dean is not going to fight it. He's going to let Tough Mudder go into bankruptcy, which sounds bad. It sounds terrible and scary, right? Oh no, Tough Mudder is going bankrupt. Tough Mudder is going through bankruptcy. It doesn't mean it's not. Just the short story is it's good news. Okay, it makes it more likely that the trustee will put Joe DeSena and Kyle McLaughlin, who's working with Joe DeSena, in charge of Tough Mudder. And Joe's come on, I don't know if it was OCR Report or World Toughest, it was OCR Report. And he came on here and he said, we're going to have Kyle in charge and we're going to run it the same way. We're going to have World's Toughest Mudder. We're going to bring prize money back to World's Toughest Mudder. So it's all good. Like literally right now, as I'm sitting here talking, all good news. And I'm very happy about it. I know it's been like emotional for a lot of you and for me also. Like Tough Mudder means a lot to us, and we're happy that we want the best for it, right? So I had kind of come to a place where I'd gone through like the 5 stages of grief, like anger and bargaining and denial and what's the other one? Blame. And then I finally got to acceptance. And it's like, you know what? I love Tough Mudder. If it goes away, life will continue. I'll miss it. I'll be sad. But I'll be okay. And now, good news comes out. I'm very happy. I'm very excited. As soon as ticket sales come back up, I will be the first in line to... You know what? I say that. I already bought my World's Toughest Mudder ticket, so that's not even an issue, right? I'm going to be World's Toughest Mudder in Dallas. My plan this year was to only run road races until World's Toughest Mudder so I don't get hurt. So I don't know. I'll definitely be at the 10th anniversary in Los Angeles. That's a brutal course. That's a lot of hills. If you're looking for hills, that's a good course for you. Anyway, so all good news. I'll let you know when ticket sales go back up. Again, I'm getting ahead of myself. Nothing's done yet, right? Judge still needs to rule. Trustee still needs to make his decision. But all the ducks are in a row. Ducks, World's Toughest Mudder. That's a callback. All good news. I don't want to get like in front of my skis, but I am optimistic for a full 2020 Tough Mudder race season. Event season. So anyway, good news. So I said that Kyle and Joe are working together. How do I know that? They released a video together. Let's listen.
Spartans, I am here with Kyle McLaughlin. Actually, Spartans and what do you call them? Mudders?
Yeah, Mudder Nation.
Spartans and Mudder Nation. I am here with Kyle McLaughlin, prior CEO to Tough Mudder, currently a volunteer. He is working tirelessly, literally 24 hours a day. I'm chipping in a little bit.
Yeah,
I'm chipping in a little bit.
Joe and I haven't slept in weeks.
We haven't slept in weeks. Matter of fact, I came out here early this morning at the office. Kyle was hanging over the edge. He was about to jump off. This has been such hard work. We want to hear from you, the community. Is it worth it? Should we save Mudder?
I think we should.
I think we should.
We got a plan.
We got a plan. Kyle was kind enough to put together a plan. We pulled him back up and over the balcony here. Don't jump. But we want to hear from you. What questions do you have? What should we do? What should change? What shouldn't change? And stay tuned. We got some stuff coming.
Stick with us. This isn't over yet.
So that's good news. That's good to hear, right? I don't think I ever heard Will Dean and Joe DeSena in the same video or the same conversation. Like they joked about the not being crazy about each other, but a lot of truth is said in jest. Let's break that. Let's listen to that video again. Let's break down that video.
Spartans, I am here with Kyle McLaughlin. Actually, Spartans and what do you call them? Mudders?
Yeah, Mudder Nation.
One of the interesting things I think to watch, if this all does come to fruition, will be the two different cultures kind of learning each other's vocabulary. You know, Joe saying, what do you call them? Like, what do you even call Tough Mudder? Like the Legionnaire thing, I don't... It was more of a... Like, that's what corporate wanted us to call each other. Mudder Nation's probably the closest thing we have, right? I think Joe likes to call Tough Mudder participants mudders, which is fine. But it's also the other way. Like the Tough Mudder crowd, maybe we have to learn the Spartan lingo. Spartan, they like to say aroo, which is fine. They have a thing they do at the beginning of their races where the start line MC says, Spartans, what is your profession? If it's your first time at the Spartan race, she'll be like, I'm a veterinarian. But that's not what they're asking. Anyway, it'll be fun to see the different culture. It's kind of symbolized by the vocabulary, but it'll be fun to see the different cultures of the two brands come together. Again, they're going to be separate, right? You don't have to go run Spartan, and they're not going to make you do burpees at Tough Mudder. But clearly there's going to be a closer or some type of relationship, right?
Spartans and Mudder Nation. I am here with Kyle McLaughlin, prior CEO to Tough Mudder, currently a volunteer.
Yeah, Kyle's no dummy. He's taking the early volunteer shift. If you take the closing volunteer shift, then you got to go pick up all the water cups everyone threw away and all the tape, and you got to walk the course and pick up the garbage. So Kyle's no dummy, you guys.
He is working tirelessly, literally 24 hours a day. I'm chipping in a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm chipping in a little bit.
Joe and I haven't slept in weeks.
Obviously, they've slept in the last several weeks, right? And they're joking, and I think they see kind of the end is near with a good result. But all joking aside, those two guys have been working non-stop on this project to save Tough Mudder, to bring it under the Spartan umbrella. And look, it's not a secret that, especially in the hardcore community, there's been some, I don't think damage is the right word, but people are questioning, like, should I buy tickets? I can't even buy tickets. Like, what's going on? And they're going to have to do some work to repair that afterwards, right? But I think in the greater OCR world, like you and I, we go to a lot of these, right? But your buddy that from work who did one with you 2 years ago, does he even know this is going on? Unless you told him, probably not, right? So when this is resolved and ticket sales are back online and you say, hey, now's the year. We need to go back. We need to go back and show our support. And he'll be like, what are you talking about? Like, yeah, I'll go with you. But what do you mean show? Like, anyway, they've been working tirelessly, and I am very optimistic and excited for this to be successful.
We haven't slept in weeks. Matter of fact, I came out here early this morning at the office. Kyle was hanging over the edge. He was about to jump off. This has been such hard work.
No one's jumping off the ledge. Don't worry.
We want to hear from you, the community. Is it worth it? Should we save Mudder?
This is what they call in the business driving engagement. He's standing next to the CEO of Tough Mudder. Of course, he wants to save Tough Mudder. He already knows the answer to his question. Is it worth it? Absolutely, it's worth it. He wouldn't have spent the probably hundreds of hours working on this already if he didn't believe it was worth it. Joe knows the answer to that question. It's kind of like those tests or those quizzes on BuzzFeed, like, which Brady Bunch character are you? And they're just trying to... Anyway, Joe knows the answer to this question. Again, neither of these two men are dumb.
I think we should.
I think we should.
We got a plan.
We got a plan. Kyle was kind enough to put together a plan. We pulled him back up and over the balcony here. Don't jump.
No one's jumping, Joe.
But we want to hear from you. What questions do you have? What should we do? What should change? What shouldn't change? And stay tuned. We got some stuff coming.
Stick with us. This isn't over yet.
Okay, just two last thoughts, and then we'll talk with Kristopher Mendoza.
Kristopher Mendoza.
How cool is it to see the CEO of Spartan and the CEO of Tough Mudder standing side by side, joking with each other, saying, stick with us. Stick with us. This isn't over yet. It's very cool. It's very, very exciting. And, when this all started, like a month and a half ago, when we heard about Spartan buying the rights to the international territories of Tough Mudder, there was a lot of nervousness and a lot of fear and a lot of worry. We didn't know how serious the situation was at the time for Tough Mudder. But after going, through this last month, and again, I'm not that close to it. I talk to people who are close to it, and I am more optimistic right now than I have been through the whole process. And you know what? Honestly, I feel so much better about Spartan being involved with Tough Mudder. Initially, I was kind of nervous. I was like, whoa, what's going to happen? Yeah, they're saying all the right things, but that's what you would say if you're taking over your biggest rival. But I really feel that Joe and Kyle are on the same page. And again, Joe's smart. He's not an idiot. He knows Tough Mudder is good at what they do. He knows Kyle is good at what he does. And I think it's going to work out for the best. I'm really excited. I'm optimistic. Again, it's not a done deal. Nothing's done yet, but it looks good. It looks as good as it's looked since this whole thing started. So that was one. The second thing is, I mentioned Joe asked a question earlier. Should we save Mudder? He's not really asking that question. But the questions he does ask at the end, what changes should we make? What, if any, again, but slow your roll, fellas. I hear you. What should we add? What should stuff like changes? Here's a good change. Bring prize money back to World's Toughest Mudder. That's what we're talking about. Those are good, positive changes. Something some elite athletes have told me is if we get prize money back in World's Toughest, we'll be back. Also, we'd love to have the option to run the Spartan Ultra Championship, which is probably in Sweden again this year, and the World's Toughest Mudder. Those are both 24-hour races. Last year, they were 1 week apart. They haven't announced the dates yet for the Spartan Ultra Championship yet this year. But if they're a week apart, it's not doable. Like Ray Coble can't run Iceland or run Sweden and then run World's Toughest Mudder. Ryan Atkins is not going to win. Well, he did 2018. He did win both, so that's a bad example. He was on a team, though, in World's Toughest Mudder. Anyway, Joe told me in an interview, like when we talked a month ago now, that he would love to spread them out. I told Joe, I was like, hey, I would love to see a all Spartan Tough Mudder tournament, not tournament, but a season-long series with short races like the Deca Fit, which is a new thing Spartan has, all the way to World's Toughest Mudder. From a 18-minute race, 16-minute race. That's probably short, whatever it is, 40-minute race, 30-minute race, all the way to 24 hours. I think that would be awesome to see who is the absolute best OCR athlete. I think it'd be great. So, yeah, there's still some unknowns. There's still, how does this get applied into real life? And it's not a done deal yet. I've said it multiple times, and I'll say it again if I have to. But I feel good about it. I feel really good about it. And I hope you do as well. Our guest today is Kristopher Mendoza.
Kristopher Mendoza.
We talked about his race at World's Toughest Mudder 2019. He finished in second place. This is his third podium finish at World's Toughest. He's finished in all three places. He was your 2018 champion. He won the closest finish in World's Toughest Mudder and a 24-hour OCR race history. We talk about that. We talk about 2018 a little bit, as well as 2019. When we talked, it was a couple days ago, so it was before this latest positive news came out. So just some context for when we talk about the Tough Mudder situation. Kris is a friend of the show and always welcome to come back. It's time to talk with Kris Mendoza. Let's go to the phones. Kris Mendoza, welcome to the show.
Hi, Star Will. What's going on, man?
Kris, I don't know if you... I know it has been a while. I don't know if you realize this. I've been doing a podcast about OCR for 3-something years, and you're still the only guy I know that has his own theme song.
Kristopher Mendoza.
Unfortunately, yes, that is the case. Yes.
I thought it would catch on with other people, but you're still the star of the whack there.
You mean you thought other people would have a theme song?
Yeah, I figured, well, because of the theme song, that's why you won World's Toughest Mudder last year. And so I figured other people would be like,
Yep.
We need a theme song.
Yeah, I know. I guess Keith Allen hasn't bestowed that honor upon anyone else. No,
he's too busy going after Will Dean right now.
Has he? See, and this is why I'm staying offline. Like, I'm not following much. I have like two sources that I get information from, mainly on like a group thread. That's how I hear what's happening. Yeah. Because you can honestly spend all day going over what the heck's happening with Tough Mudder, and I just don't have time for it.
And you know what? For guys that have been, you've had a lot to do with the community, and I've been involved and invested, and it can like get to you emotionally if you spend too much time, especially when you don't have there's nothing you can do about it, really. It's out of your control.
Right. I think that's the biggest thing. It's like, I have no control over the situation at all. So it's like, why invest so much energy into it and like just get down about it for pretty much no reason? So, I mean, whatever happens will happen. And I guess we'll see. I mean, I've kind of already started to put together like my race schedule and stuff. So, yeah, we'll see what happens.
Man, that's a really good point. People are talking about, the people the jobs and the employees and stuff, but the athletes need to know what to do. Like if you're going to run World's Toughest Mudder, you need to plan that out. And if not, maybe you're going to run Sweden, or maybe, there's a whole athlete side of it that we haven't really talked about yet. Mainly probably because there's no prize money, but,
yeah, I mean, to be honest, like I feel, yeah, it's like you mentioned, it's the work for the people who are working there and, who are potentially like trying to work behind the scenes, to get this deal done, and maybe not getting paid or not knowing if they're getting paid. And, I don't know all the details, but it's a really crummy situation. And, we're obviously dealing with people's livelihoods. And, I think a lot of people have gotten a lot from this whole series, but, you also got to think about the people who are working, making their living off of this. So, yeah.
You mentioned World's Toughest Mudder. You finished second this year to your nemesis, Trevor Cichosz. How was your World's Toughest 2019?
Overall, I mean, it wasn't great. But I think that considering everything that was, going on, like I just didn't have a great race, but, all things considered, getting second was still pretty awesome. I now have claimed every single spot of the podium. So I've gotten first, second, and third. So I was really just going for the trifecta, if you will.
Sure.
Of podium spots at World's Toughest. So now I got that. And, I think a big reason why I decided to run World's Toughest was because, some early rumblings that, we didn't know if this was the last World's Toughest or not. And hey, it could be. Right now it's kind of looking that way. So, I think that it definitely made me happy with my decision to go back and run World's Toughest, regardless if I won or not, just to experience the event and experience the community again. You
won the race in 2018, and tell me if I'm wrong, I know you weren't planning to run it for a while at least. I don't think I heard you were planning to run it until a month or two before the race.
Yeah, I really wasn't sure. To be honest, I really want to run Sweden. I think one thing I've realized in this past year is like I mainly want to run races. Like I don't do this for a job. I don't run obstacle racing for a job to make money. So I just obviously do it for fun. Granted, I push myself, try to compete at a high level, but so I realized that what I really enjoy is running in the mountains and doing obstacle races in like mountain settings. And so for me, being able to run, on a course like Sweden, which was like 2,000 feet of gain every 5 miles, for me sounds way more fun than running a flat Atlanta course again. And so you can kind of see it in like almost every other race that I ran this year. I ran the Ultra Beasts in Aspen, Tahoe, and Killington. And like those races were awesome and I loved them. And so that's kind of what I'm going to probably be focusing on, is just more mountain racing, just because that's what I really like to do. So yeah, I wasn't really planning on it, but kind of with my job situation and everything, it was just way easier this year to go to Atlanta. And then, like I said, I think hearing that it might be the last World's Toughest played a huge factor in this whole thing.
Have you thought about the Spartan Mountain Series? They have, races just, full of mountains for you.
Yeah, I've thought about it, but apparently one of the races in Indiana, which almost makes sense because they have just huge mountains there.
Indiana known for their mountains.
Yes. Indiana is known for their 200-foot mountains. They're nice little hills. The other thing I like to do is run long. So I know they have a lot of sprints and stuff in those. So I don't think I'm going to do the mountain series per se, but I know that a bunch of the ultras are on mountain courses, and they're definitely doing a lot more ultras this year, Ultra Beast or whatever they're called. So I'm planning on just doing a bunch of those that are like in mountainous areas.
And are you planning on running the Spartan Ultra Championship this year in Sweden?
That's the plan. I don't think they've announced when it is exactly.
They haven't actually announced where or when, technically.
Right. Right. So I'm really just waiting on that. But that's kind of, as long as they do decide to announce that, that'll probably be my like A race of the year.
Your fellow world's toughest champion, Ray Coble, told me that her race in Sweden last year in 2019 was her favorite race she's ever done.
Oh, I believe it. I mean, it looked awesome. Talking to everyone who ran it, it sounded like such an epic race and just such a difficult race. And for me, it's just kind of like about giving myself that personal challenge of doing something I don't think I can do. And just seeing that course and seeing how hard it was, it really makes me want to do it even more, especially when even like you're throwing in potential of snow and then the mountain, like I mentioned before. Like I really hope that they stay at that venue so we can run it this next year.
I feel like they'll do it at least one more year. They did 2 years in Norway. They've done 1 year in Sweden. I feel like it's at least
Iceland.
one more year, right? Oh,
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah.
not Norway, Iceland.
Yeah. I know. John Albin lives in Norway. It's confusing. He wins all the races.
I'm always thinking about John Albin.
I know. Me too. The sexy man. But yeah, I think they will, especially because that's where Kraft is. They're like main sponsor, not the mac and cheese company. But so I think that they'll probably be back in Sweden. I've heard that they'll be back there potentially in the middle of October, maybe not. But I'm still waiting on that official release of dates and stuff, so before I can solidify anything in my schedule.
You're talking about your 2020 race schedule. Are you looking to do a lot of Spartan races this year?
Yeah. Actually, as far as obstacle racing is concerned, well, we have no idea about Tough Mudder. So I can't really assume that there's going to be any toughest or anything like that. But I would say I probably have 3 to 5 Ultra Beasts on my schedule. I'm running 100K ultra marathon in less than a month. And I'm actually headed out to Hawaii next week to pace my friend at the Hurt 100, which is another ultra marathon.
Is that 100 miles or kilometers?
The Hurt 100 is 100 miles. The one I'm pacing my friend in, yeah.
You've run 100 miles at World's Toughest multiple times. What do you think about what's the difference doing it on land or on land without obstacles?
On land. Yeah, I've been known to swim 100 miles, but just not run it.
What a stupid question that was. Oh my gosh.
That was a great question. Well, actually, the one thing I'm looking forward to about this, at least about pacing my friend, is it's in Hawaii. It's a 100-mile race, and apparently it's just super muddy and super technical. And so for me, I'm like, perfect. Like, bring on the mud, bring on the technicality. One of the reasons I'm also pacing her is because I'm like, well, I kind of want to run this race one year, so I want to see what it's like before actually racing it. So I think that crewing and pacing it like ultras is a good way to kind of see the race before having to step on the start line. So,
sure.
I think it's a completely different experience, though, when you're talking about just running a race on land, of course. Just because you don't have obstacles to break it up. So while your whole body is going to probably feel better at the end of the race, like your legs just get that repetitive motion, and like your feet and legs are going to hurt a lot more because you're running faster, running harder the whole time.
Sure.
Yeah. So I've actually never officially ran a 100-mile ultra. So I have a few races on my bucket list that hopefully in the next 2 years I'm going to be running.
What's the biggest race on your bucket list?
Well, the one that I don't know how you consider biggest. I have like 4 big races I want to do.
Okay.
Leadville,
Sure.
the Leadville 100, Western States, which is like the oldest 100 miler in America, or ever, I think oldest 100 miler. And that's from Squaw in Tahoe to Auburn. I want to run Hard Rock eventually, and then UTMB, Ultra Trail Mont Blanc, those are very mountainous races. So Leadville, Western States are a little less hilly, I would say, and then UTMB and Hard Rock are more like high altitude mountainous races. So those ones are probably for a little later, but those are like 4 of the big races I want to do.
It's funny you talk about bucket list races. For a lot of people, World's Toughest Mudder is the bucket list race. Like a lot of the Tough Mudder community, like I want to train up and I want to run World's Toughest, and you won the dang thing.
But that was me. That was me in like 2014. Or I guess 2012 after running my first Tough Mudder. In my mind, I was just like I was actually looking at and like put up some pictures of me and my 2 friends who I ran my first Tough Mudder with. And I heard about a 24-hour Tough Mudder. And I was like, what the heck? Like, who is crazy enough to ever do such a thing? And so I started looking into it, and unfortunately with like my school work schedule thing, like I couldn't do it for 2 years. I couldn't run World's Toughest for 2 years. And it actually aligned that the first year that they were in Las Vegas, I was actually free that weekend. And in my mind, I was like, oh my gosh, like I can't let this opportunity go, because I was in Los Angeles at the time. So I could drive to Las Vegas, I wouldn't have to fly or anything. And, it was just like a great opportunity. And it was like the scariest thing that I had ever done, physically to that point. And, that's what got me started into this whole, me doing obstacle course racing, really.
Isn't that crazy? That first start line at World's Toughest Mudder, do you remember the emotions you were thinking or feeling?
Oh yeah. It's funny because I thought I was a badass then. I was like, oh man, I'm going to crush this. Like, I guess it's just like, I felt like pretty confident. And I remember looking at pictures of me, and I'm wearing like shorts and like no shirt, of just like my bib. And I'm like, what the heck were you thinking, Kris? Like, I had 1 pair of shoes, and I was just like so ill prepared. And I was definitely nervous, but I definitely remember that start line speech by Sean Corvell. And I think that's really what did it and what got me through to the end. But yeah, it was definitely a crazy race, and one of those where it's like I finished and was just like, I'm never doing this again. Because like in my mind, it was one of those bucket list races where you just check it off,
sure,
and you move on. I was going to continue living my life, but for some reason, I kept coming back.
Isn't it crazy that it's not even confidence, it's ego, because there's nothing to base it on. Like now when you go to the start line, you're like, okay, yeah, I got this. I've won the thing. I finished second. Like you come up to the start line, you have some confidence, I'm sure, but it's based on something. That first time you had the confidence, but it was built on nothing.
I don't know. Like, I feel like now, I mean, it's a different mindset, but like, I felt like going to that first one, yeah, I was nervous, but I felt pretty confident. But then again, I didn't have anyone looking at me. Like, no one knew who I was. So there was no pressure, whether other people put it on me or myself. But I think that I expected more from myself. Like you said, it was just pure ego of like, oh yeah, like I'm a tough guy. I can do this. Whereas now I don't feel those feelings as much. Because I think now I'm just a little wiser, and I know that anything could happen in a 24-hour race. So even if I'm fit coming into a race like this, it's like anything can happen. And I think that the more you do these races, the more you know that. So I think you come to the start line with a little bit more humility. Granted, physically I'm in a lot better shape, but mentally it's like you come respecting the race. Seriously. And respecting your competitors. Yeah.
Any 24-hour race, any 50-mile, any 100-mile race, they will break you. And yeah, you're right. You need some healthy humility at the start line.
Yeah, I mean, and that's honestly what I love about these long races. I wasn't a top tier cross country track athlete. I didn't even run growing up. I started running in dental school pretty much after I ran World's Toughest. I trained a little bit for it. Thought I was running a lot. But now it's, I think I was drawn to those long races because it's really it's a mental battle just as much as it is a physical battle. And so that's what really draws me to it is at a certain point in a 50 miler, 100 miler in a 24-hour race, you're not really racing anyone else. You're racing yourself because there's no one else out there who's going to really, push you to go a little harder when you can't see the person next to you. If you're running a 100-meter dash or 400-meter dash, it's you can see your competitors right next to you the whole time. Whereas this type of race, it's they can be completely out of sight the whole race. And then, you can catch them or they can catch you at the very end. So you really have to have that mental strength and just, I guess, resolve to just keep going, which is really cool to me.
That's why the finish last year between you and Trevor was so amazing. You guys have been apart for 23 and a half hours, and then you passed Trevor literally with less than a mile to go in the race. You both finished with 100 miles. That was an amazing.
What happened last year?
2018, 13 months ago.
I don't remember.
You were there.
I don't remember that.
You were there.
I think I stroked out. I think I had a stroke during that time. I don't remember any of that.
Let me remind you then. You passed. Trevor was part of the two best finishes in World's Toughest history. You and him in 2018, and then he and Austin in 2016 when you got third.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, by the way, I saw Austin a few weeks ago in Santa Barbara.
What's he doing?
So cool to see him.
In California?
He was actually working in San Diego the week before. And for some reason, just saw there was a Spartan race. So he came up for an extra couple days and then flew back to Canada on Sunday. So I got to see him for 2 days. It was pretty awesome.
Oh, that's cool. Did you guys tell 2016 World's Toughest stories?
Yeah, how he kicked my ass. Yeah. No, we were just talking, just about life. It was good to catch up with him because I haven't seen him most of the year. Because I don't know, he's a little injured, but he's coming back and training, so it's been good. It was good to see him.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, so, which is funny because I think after that year, I was like, Austin, that guy beat me. I hate this guy. And then I actually met him in person, a couple months after the race. And I was like, yep, he's Canadian. He's the nicest guy ever. Yep. Can't not like him. Yeah. So it's kind of funny what your perception is of someone before you really meet them. Maybe if you're just racing against them and then you meet them and realize they're the coolest people ever.
I've heard some other elite athletes say the exact same thing about other, I don't want to drop names, other elite Canadian athletes that win a lot of races. And they're like, oh, that guy, he wins so many races. He's got to be a jerk. And then they meet him.
Yeah.
And nicest guy ever. So.
He's the nicest guy ever. Yeah. No. All the Canadian people are super nice. So just be nice to Canadians. Hey, they're super nice. And they're going to smile while they destroy you. So it's great.
So you won the race. You won World's Toughest 2018. And you come back.
I'm starting to remember, yes.
I'm recapping the previously on.
Okay.
And then
I limboed under the finish line. I remember that. And
then 2019, you're coming into the race as the defending champion. And the guy who you beat, Trevor Cichosz, is right next to you at the start line. What did you feel pressure? What did you feel at the start line this year?
I think you always feel a little bit of pressure coming back to a race, but for some reason, I don't know. I just this might sound bad. I just didn't care. And I don't know why. Maybe I was just happy to be there. And happy to be, with everyone there. But I don't think I cared as much. Maybe because I had won already. And I think, coming into 2018, that's all I wanted to do was I just wanted to win the race. And I did that. And so for me, it was just cool to come back and see everyone and, just experience the race in a whole different light. And, I was going to push myself, but I also didn't really feel like I needed to kill myself. I don't know. Maybe it's a mentality where I'd check that box and have other big goals that I want to accomplish. And so maybe I'm thinking about those a little bit more, but it was weird. Because I expected to be more nervous and stuff like that, but I was just excited to be there. And like, I had been hurt for the first half of the year. So just getting to run again and like run a race this long was like just a super awesome, rewarding thing. So yeah, it was, I don't know why, but maybe it's just a new version of me that's just like enjoying racing more, because I think I've just taken a step back and realized, hey, Kris, like, you do this for fun. Like, this doesn't support you in any way, shape, or form. So go have fun, and like whatever happens, happens.
I can see that. The pressure's off. You have nothing to prove to anyone. There's nothing anyone could say to you that, like, say you got 77th place. Yeah, well, you still won last year. You still had the first place, so it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, that's right, Javier Escobar. I still won last year. Doesn't matter.
If World's Toughest Mudder goes away, I think the saddest thing for me is that, as Javier is clearly on the rise, right? Like, he's clearly coming up. And I think you, him, and Trevor would have an amazing race this year or next year, whenever it is.
Yeah, I know. It's funny because we raced together, team Chasing the Dream in Las Vegas. Me, Deanna, Trevor, and then Javier. And me and Javier ran like the whole race together. And, we talked a lot, and I was like, dude, you're like, his trajectory reminds me of me like a few years ago, because, he went from like 75 and then got 100. And this was before he got 100. I was telling him, like, dude, like, you put in the work, you've been doing all the right things. Like, don't like discount yourself from getting 100 miles this year. And when he got it, I was just so stoked for him, because, I know what it's like to like, I told him, I was like, you can only prepare so much, and you don't know what the year is going to give you. So maybe last year, if he was in the same shape, he might have not gotten 100 miles. But like this year, the conditions were right, and he got the 100. And like, all you can do is prepare. And, he did that. And hats off to him for getting there. So, yeah, I'm really excited for him. And yeah, I think that out of all of us, he's probably the one who has like, maybe not the most to prove, but like for him, he probably wants it a little bit more, because he's finally got to the 100, and now he wants to see what he can do beyond that. So yeah, really excited for him, but hopefully he gets another chance at World's Toughest.
There seems to be three unique paths to win World's Toughest Mudder. There's the Ray Coble, Ryan Atkins plan, where you just show up and win the whole thing. There's the Trevor Cichosz plan, where you get third, then you get second, then you get first. And then there's the Chris Mendoza, maybe Javier Escobar plan, where you kind of go to 50, then 75, and then, and then like your first 100 miles was third place, good for third. So that'll be one of those what could have been if this doesn't get figured out. That's going to be a real shame. Yeah,
no, for sure. I mean, either way, I think that he's got a lot going for him. There's so many other different things that he could focus his energy on, but I know for him, he really wants this WTM. So I like if in 2016 or 2017 Tough Mudder would have gone away, that would have been pretty tough on me. So I can understand, not that it wouldn't be now, but like just wanting to do better at this race. But there's other 24-hour races. The potentially Spartan in Sweden again, and bunch of other ultras that he could do. So I don't know. Yeah, I feel like for me, I'm definitely looking at some other races to kind of prove myself in. So it's all about just keeping challenging yourself. So that's kind of what I'm looking at.
Something I've told myself is that even if Tough Mudder goes away tomorrow, like no one can ever take away the last 9 years or the world's. I got third place in the team race 2 years ago. Like no one can ever take that away, whether Tough Mudder's here or not. Like those memories and the people I've met and the relationships are all real.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, one thing I've actually been thinking about is like, there's like a big difference between, we'll just call them two camps of like people who run Tough Mudders and people who run Spartan races. And Spartan race people, they're all about competition and all about, doing your best. And like Tough Mudder is about doing your best, but it's about helping people and, getting through the course together. And just, if Tough Mudder does go away, doesn't mean that you can't run another race and you can't be supportive of one another and you can't carry that same attitude onto a different course, no matter what type of race it is, whether it's a Spartan race or an ultra or anything like that. Like, if anything, that's what I keep telling like myself is like, just because, you know, if this race goes away doesn't mean that you have to like lose all those values and those friendships and everything. You know, I love going to Spartan races and, you know, especially like running the ultra where you're like passing people, just, you know, encouraging people on your second loop when you're passing all the beast runners and everything like that. It's cool to just be out there, see other people who you know and encourage them. It's like, just because this race might not be around anymore doesn't mean you can't, you know, carry those same values.
100%. 100%.
No. Yeah. I mean, it's, yeah, like, my running coach, he's really big on like just being positive, and it's like slapping hands with people that you see out on course and just enjoying it. And I think that I really started to, you know, take to that mindset, because it's, you know, all of us minus like 0.1% are out here for fun, and yeah, to push ourselves, but doesn't mean we can't smile. Doesn't mean we can't, you know, be nice to each other. So
the cool thing about running is when you give somebody a high five, it gives you extra power. So that helps.
Well, that's his like, that's what he's like, his name's David Roach. That's what he always says. He's like, honestly, like giving a high five to someone or like telling someone else like, great job, it actually is a performance booster. So you're helping yourself. So just be selfish and, you know, like cheer for other people type thing. So yeah, it's there's like been science to prove it. So it's kind of cool that it can work both ways.
When you run road races, sometimes little kids are holding up signs with like a button on it or like a big circle, and they say "press here for extra power." And you always high five. The kids are like all excited, and then you like run fast for like 10 steps after it. And yeah. I mean, it's really cool to see like those kids are like people who are out there encouraging you at all those, you know, any race really. So if Spartan buys Tough Mudder, if it goes through, Tough Mudder is saved, you know, under the Spartan umbrella, would you run World's Toughest Mudder this year?
Probably not, because I really want to run Sweden, and if things stay the same, or if the schedule aligns how I think it is, Spartan would be in the middle of October. And I don't know, or I guess World's Toughest would be the middle of November, which would not be enough time to recover. If they have World's Toughest, I'll definitely be there. Probably not running. One thing I thought that would actually be really fun is maybe I'll try to go run a lap or two and then maybe help people for a while and then get tired of that and go into the pits and get warm and crew for someone. But, you know, I'll definitely be there if it happens.
You know, Stephanie,
I also have noted.
Oh, go ahead.
I have no desire to run in Dallas, which is like pancake flat and super boring in my mind.
Stephanie Bishop was out there last year. She's a past world toughest champion. She was helping coach with his dance party out there.
Oh my gosh. I had no idea, first of all, that she was coming out. And then when I saw her, I was just so stoked to see her out there. His dance party, his coach, what was it called? Quick Fit?
Pit party, something like that.
Quick Fit. Yeah. That was probably my favorite part of the race. And actually, I was pretty nervous about that whole thing. I was like, this is going to take away from like the atmosphere, like the environment of the race. But to be honest, it was like so well done. It was fun, but like if you were racing, you could just run right through it. It wasn't a big deal. But just to see them at the halfway mark, every loop was just super awesome. So hats off to both of them. Like it was so cool to see them. And for that matter, it was cool to see Eli out there.
I heard about that. What was he up to?
I have no idea. But I like saw him. I was like, dude, it's so good to see you out here. It just made me smile. So I don't know. He just wanted to come back and help out, I guess. And
sure.
Yeah. I thought the first time I saw him was up in Coach's rave party thing, and I was just like, wow, that's super cool to see him out there. But
that must have been weird for him being out there and not, you know, being the man. Just, I'm sure he was helping, but he wasn't. Yeah, he wasn't all dependent on
helping,
him.
Yeah. He was helping out, like hand out certain stuff, and it was cool just to actually interact with him and see him out there. Definitely miss that guy. So, yeah, it was good to see him out there.
Eli's a past race director of World's Toughest Mudder. We're talking about Eli Hutchison.
Yeah.
Did you use the quick pit area for refueling or for strategy, race purposes at all, or just kind of running through?
No, I just ran through. I think maybe one time, like around mile 90, I might have gotten something. I think there was one lap where I did get a waffle, but that was about it. I didn't really use it at all. It's kind of too short of a loop to need anything for me. Yeah.
Kris, any cool sponsors you're working with? Anything you want to plug?
The same old, the usual Merrill, Goo Energy, and Ultimate Direction has been really helpful, just getting me set up for races, and I'm super excited for this year. I don't know, my mentality this year is just go have fun and just go enjoy playing in the mountains and stuff. So I'm super excited.
What Merrills are you wearing these days?
That's a great question. I don't even know what they're called. I don't know if they're out.
You have like a pre-publication shoes you're wearing there? Pre-release?
Yeah. Skyfire. They're called the Skyfire OCRs. Yeah. I don't know. I get to test out a bunch of their shoes, so that's probably my favorite part, is like testing out shoes and giving them feedback on them. So yeah. I don't think these ones are out yet, but they should be soon.
Watch for those. Skyfire OCR.
Yeah, they're my all orange shoes. They're very bright and loud.
Are they going after the old Tough Mudder crowd with those?
I don't know. It's interesting because I think that, Merrill, the company, is probably moving away. Obviously, they made a decision not to partner with Tough Mudder, but I think there's still some people in the company that really enjoy the obstacle course racing scene. So I don't know. Honestly, these are great trail running shoes. They're my favorite trail running shoes I've ran in. So yeah, I think they can be used for everything. I'll be racing in them in a couple weeks. So yeah, I'm excited.
Kris, how can people follow you on social media?
Instagram, Doza the Dentist. And that's pretty much it. I mean, I'm on Facebook, but you can just look up my name. So,
Kris, any last thoughts on World's Toughest or anything else?
Thanks, man. It's good to talk to you again, and we'll see how this whole Tough Mudder situation, what happens with it. So, hoping for the best.
Kris Mendoza.
Kristopher Mendoza.
Thanks much.
Thank you, 5-star Will. 5 stars.
Special thanks to Kris Mendoza for appearing on the show. I'm not playing the music anymore. You guys are getting greedy. Well done, Kris. Come back anytime. With Tough Mudder and Spartan being under the same structure, maybe we need to combine the OCR Report podcast and World's Toughest podcast. What do you think about that? Let me know. willhicks@gmail.com. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Check out the other podcasts on the OCR Report Network. They're great. Keep the faith. I will talk to you soon. Go spend time with someone you love. That's my favorite part of our interviews is the end, which sounds terrible.
I almost forgot about it.
You've run 100 miles at World's Toughest multiple times. What do you think about what's the difference doing it on land or on land without obstacles?
On land. Yeah, I've been known to swim 100 miles, but just not run it.
Stupid question that was. Oh my gosh. Kristopher Mendoza.